Okay. Linda Green is probably the has a lot of insight regarding the DeGeorge and the veterans and the homeless situation in the greater Houston area. She was there on the ground floor when they purchased the DeGeorge and they designated it for our homeless veterans. So, Linda, if you'd take a few minutes and just tell us the story about the DeGeorge and our vets and the homeless situation in the greater Houston area. Thanks, Linda.
Well, no, thank you very much, Roger, for inviting me. And um, I was trying to think earlier what all I wanted to say. I know you told me not to go too long, so I was trying to just kind of come up with the main things and the main points. But I got to thinking about you, Roger, and I was trying to think, when did we actually start collaborating with your church and with the George and working together? And I have to tell you, I can't remember when you weren't there with us. Uh, I can't remember a date that you started. It just seems like you've always been there, and you've always been such a wonderful supporter. Brought in the people from the different ministries in your church, and the children love working when you've had the children. And I remember one Fourth of July, probably 2 to 3 years ago, and our oldest gentleman, a World War II homeless veteran, the 4th of July is his birthday. Do you remember the day I'm talking about, Roger?
Yes, I do.
And you, and as I call her, Miss Roger, came down, and it was the rainiest 4th of July I've ever seen. And we didn't want everybody crowded inside, so we were under a little canopy outside, and we had people in a parade, but they had to hold umbrellas. So you and Ms. Roger were there, and we celebrated his 100th birthday. And he passed away shortly after that. But he told me many times that we had no idea how we all made him feel. He said, especially people coming in from the outside for his birthday. So, uh, and that was just one of many things that you did and do for our veterans there. Well, the George is owned by Housing Corporation of Greater Houston, which is operates in Houston. It's a 501c3. Prior to the DeGeorge opening, I was working at the VA for several years in the homeless veteran program, and the Housing Corporation officers came to us and wanted some staff members to get together and to write a grant so we could do a grant proposal to HUD. So we did. Took us several months to work on it, but we did, and very few changes, and got the grant. Our agency bought a building, and I think I shared with Roger the other day kind of the funny story with the building. The building is an old hotel. It's, I don't know now, 110, 115, or 20 years old, all original. It's right downtown, right across from the home of the Astros, which is a very prominent place to be. But it wasn't at the time that we went and spoke before City Council and said we wanted to buy the building for back taxes, and then we told them what the purpose would be. And the funny thing is, the mayor sitting there in City Council, they kind of sit in like a semicircle. And evidently, what they're supposed to do is turn off their mic and have a little talk and then turn it back on and announce their decision. Well, one person forgot to turn off his mic. And as it turns out, this was actually his area. And he turned to the other council members and said, go ahead and let them have it. Nothing happens on the east end of downtown. And if you've had an opportunity to be in downtown Houston, that's where everything is. Yes, yes. True story on that one. And then I talked about meeting Roger and how much Roger has really involved all of y'all and all of your programs and been such a wonderful partner to us, Roger. So we've always appreciated that. So just if I'm repeating, just say what move on. I would say we probably had somewhere between 800 and 1,000 residents over the years, and we've been there. I don't know, 26, 7, 8 years, somewhere in that. When we're full, we hold 100, and the majority of the time, the first part of the building, we did stay full. Not quite as much now. There's some changes going on between the Houston Housing Authority and between HUD, and things that are totally out of the hands. What it kind of boils down to, I'll try to make it real quick, is that HUD no longer wants to have a place like an apartment building. They don't want people to go by and say, "Oh, that's where all those homeless live," because they feel it's labeling. And am I still on?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And to a degree, it is labeling, but I think it bothered HUD more than it bothered the residents, because they were just happy to have a home. Now they're working on a voucher system. Once you're approved that you qualify to have supported housing, you're given a voucher. You can take it anywhere that you want to go, and if that place will accept you, okay, then HUD will pay it to that facility. I don't really like that, because I think it's the companionship, the support, just the camaraderie that in my opinion, really made it helpful. And it's, to me, it's going to be make a big difference with volunteers. If you've got, for example, Roger, I'll just keep using you. If Roger's bringing down bags for Valentine's or things the kids have made, he doesn't want to probably go to 15 different locations around town and drop off a few here and a few there. First of all, the other people in those units are going to wonder, well, okay, where's mine? And it just works better to have everybody together, I think. There was a time, I'm looking at my notes, I know I didn't mention this, we had a dinner one time. A group sponsored it, and they brought in several politicians and several reps from working in the mayor's office, and they served the dinner. This was maybe 20 years ago. And one of my residents came up to me the next morning, and he said, he said, I didn't realize how important I was. And I said, well, of course, everybody's important. Why do you think that now? He said, because somebody from the mayor's office actually served me my dinner.
Wow.
And he said, he was so impacted by that. And he talked about that a long time. That was his story, but it was true. It's very true. He sometimes, with some of the residents, before they would get to the point of seeking housing, they had some pretty bad days, pretty bad times. So that was something that just made him feel so much better. And we were very fortunate at the time being close to Enron, and they would give us quite often free tickets. And we would do drawings. People had to sign up. We would do drawings to give them out impartially. And a man won 2 tickets. We gave out 2 to each person that won. And a few people asked, why are you giving them 2? That could be for 2 people. And I said, I don't ever want to go to a ball game by myself. Do you? And they're like, well, no, who do we talk to? same thing, because you're trying to work with them for socialization. So if one person won 2 tickets, he could ask whoever he wanted. And this one gentleman that won one year, he was crying when he came in. And I thought, are these tears of happiness or what? And he said, that's going to be my son's 12th or 13th birthday. I said, that's perfect. You can take him. Am I still on? Am I okay?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I said, I can't think of a better thing to do than father and son going to a ball game on a birthday. And he said, but you don't understand. And I said, well, tell me about it. He said, every birthday for my son, including the day he was born, he said, I've never been clean or sober. I've always been intoxicated, high, whatever. And he said, I would go to where my son was living and his mother would make me leave. And he said, I don't know how to act clean and sober and normal at a birthday party. And so we bought him a little camera. I said, well, first of all, you've got to record it. This is a great occasion. So we bought him a little camera, and they went to the game. We made sure he had a little spending money to, buy a hot dog or whatever. About 3 or 4 months later, he reconciled with his family, and as far as I know, they're still together.
Oh.
But we have a lot of stories, a lot of sad stories. Not everything has a happy ending, but I like to think that we did what we could to provide a good environment. And I know I keep kind of hampering on support, but that support means the world to people. I don't know how it is right or was this past summer, but being that we're located 1 block away from the baseball, we had probably 8 or 10 men for the past 3 or 4 years. Every day that there's a home game, they go out front in their wheelchairs or their walkers, and they sit up right up in front of the big glass window, and they would say hello to everybody. And it got to where the same people that were going to the same games, they recognized them, and they would bring them gifts. They would bring them popcorn. They'd buy them shirts when they went to the ball game, and that was good support. That was very, very good support, and they loved that. They got very territorial, though. They wouldn't let anybody else go out with them. They said that's theirs, not anybody else's. But again, thank you, Roger, for all you've done and all your help. And I know it takes everybody working together. So thank you to all of you, and those kids especially.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story about the work of the DeGeorge with us.
Well, you're more than welcome. I can tend to talk too long, so I guess my phone earlier was telling me, "Oh no, you've talked long enough."
Just cut it off.
No.
Cut it off. Unplug the mic. Too long. But again, thank you very much, and Roger, thank you for asking me. I feel very honored. Thank you.
Thanks.
We as
Thanks
well.
for coming.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
You're more than welcome.